First of all, Chris Stuckman is a grown ass man. Okay. He don't need no cheerleaders to come to his aid. He knew what he signed up for when he got on the internet. He knew what he signed up for when he decided to start a YouTube channel making film critic videos, meaning he reviews movies, nigga. Okay. That's what he signed up for. All right. I don't know where y'all get this entitlement that we're supposed to be nice when we review your movies. Okay, that's some bullshit.
What makes you think that I'm an answer if you ain't mine? Even if you call me up 100 times.
So yesterday I made a video about Madam Web getting roasted by a TikTok reviewer, and there was this viral clip of YouTuber Chris Stuckman, where someone took a clip of one of his videos talking about how he refused to review Madam Web, and it's kind of been making the rounds on the internet. Now, during the time I made that video, it was kind of like a little roasting session. You know, we're just laughing, having fun. But it wasn't until last night, as I'm on Twitter and I'm constantly seeing this video recircling on Twitter, that I didn't realize how serious this was. I mean, everybody's commenting on it, from people from the industry, all over YouTube, from other industries, and it's kind of, it needs to be addressed. So for those of you who don't know what video I'm talking about, I'll let that play here.
To myself, probably not going to do a video for this one based off of what I've heard, since I do try to keep it mostly about film celebration on this channel. Having seen the film, I'm going to tell you that this is not a movie review of Madam Web. I am not about bashing filmmakers, artists. I know how hard it is to make a movie. I do not know how hard it is to make a movie under the studio system. I was able to make an indie film without a giant corporation breathing down my neck, which is not the privilege that S.J. Clarkson had when she directed Madam Web under Sony, which I can only imagine was monumentally difficult. This is not going to be a video about Madam Web and telling you whether or not you should see Madam.
Now, before you say it, yes, I want to watch the video in its entirety. Basically, Chris Stuckman went on to talk about that movies are hard to make. The producers, the companies, they're to blame for most of the nonsense. So there were a couple of, Twitter comments made on this that I kind of wanted to address really quick and talk about this situation, because for one, I just want to be a little bit more mature about it instead of roasting it. So this isn't going to be a roasting session like it normally is. I kind of want to be a little bit more mature about it and have this discussion because it needs to be addressed. So, kind of retweeting, you can see a couple of comments that I just want to highlight. You can get this one from Nick Curcio. I don't know if he's part of the industry or not, but he made this point. He said, Chris just made his first feature. He knows how the sausage is made and that you should never shit on your peers' films because you never know who you'll end up working with. It is bizarre that people openly want him to say mean things about the movie that is in vogue to hate right now. I understand that point. For those of us on the other side, we do have to realize that if you are in the industry, you don't want to shit on your peers because they do take it personal. Now, my problem with this is to absolutely refuse to review a movie. We're gonna get to it, but that's no, absolutely not. There's another comment. This comes from, of course, got the rainbow flag and you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking. You pro now. You know what I'm talking about. This person says, no, what's annoying is the fact that YouTubers like The Quartering, Nerderotic, and Geeks and Gamers have ruined film criticism so much that they forgot what a real critic looked like. Chris Stuckman is the only mature adult in the room. Excuse me? Have you not seen some of the Rotten Tomatoes reviews? Just because most critics don't get on a camera and do heavy editing doesn't mean they're not not being mean or giving heavy criticism. Have you heard the criticism from the Rotten Tomatoes reviewers? Some of the top critics on there. This movie's garbage. But we're gonna get into it. The only adult in the room. Have you lost your mind? But the tweet that really made me want to make this video is this one from Joe Russo. Now, if you don't know who Joe Russo is actually in the industry. He actually has a site where he, places the feature films that he's worked on, including things like Nightmare Cinema, Alpar Nightmare, and Hard to Kill with Bruce Willis. So this guy is actually in the industry. He's actually made films before. And so what he says kind of holds weight here. What he says is if you Twitter trolls were like Chris and actually learned how hard it is to make a movie instead of just crying about them from your mom's basement, you too would make videos like this one. So I had to go ahead and address this one. So this is for Joe Russo. This is for everybody else who first of all, Chris Stuckman is a grown ass man. Okay. He don't need no cheerleaders to come to his aid. He knew what he signed up for when he got on the internet. He knew what he signed up for when he decided to start a YouTube channel making film critic videos, meaning he reviews movies, nigga. Okay. That's what he signed up for. All right. I don't know where y'all get this entitlement that we're supposed to be nice when we review your movies. Okay. That's some bullshit. Number 2, there's nothing wrong with not being overly critical when you're reviewing anything. Music, movies, video games, whatever the case may be. Especially when you know you have connections in that industry, okay? Chris Stuckman made his hay reviewing movies. That's what we expect from you. Nobody's telling you to be nerdrotic or be the quartering or be, anything funny and polarizing. The only thing we ask you to do is to review movies, nigga. That's it. That's your job. That's what we come to you for. I used to watch the Angry Joe channel for reviews on movies and video games. I used to watch, other creators like, the Critical Drinker and many other alternative media. I used to read Rotten Tomatoes reviews. I used to read IGN faithfully before every video game that came out, before I would ever go and spend money on it. What if they all just woke up and decided that we're not going to review anything if it's too bad? What? Like, we would all just be spending money in the dark, like just hoping that whatever it is that we bought or we spent money on was worth it. No, that's what you're there for. So for you to refuse to review a movie because it's that bad, are you kidding me? That's your only job, big fella. Your only job. Number 3, I understand you got friends in the industry. No problem. Okay. But there's a way that you can critique a movie without being overly negative or whatever the case may be. And we're going to get into some of the things that Chris Stuckman said. How I would say it, if I had friends in the industry who delivered artwork that I'm not particularly proud of, I would just say that, I just want to warn my audience that I'm not going to be as provocative on this one because I am biased. I have friends who worked on this project and I don't want to absolutely rip them apart. So if you want to rip me apart in the comments instead, I totally understand that. I do not believe this is my friend's best work. I don't know if it was because of stress. I don't know if it was because of studio interference. I don't know what it is, but I promise you this is not their best work and we're going to go through it through and through. And that's how I would handle that situation. I would just take the vitriol from the comments, sorry. But I'm not going to refuse to review the video because that shoots my credibility. Okay. Number 4. So one of the things that Chris Stuckman talked about in his video was how hard it is to make, movies. Guys, he's right. Making movies is hard. Okay. It is hard. I've never made a full feature-length film, but I directed a movie before, or a short film. All right. It never saw the light of day. It's hard getting people to show up on time, getting people to be coherent, getting people to be cohesive, getting, managing the personalities on set, getting a reliable boom mic operator, making sure your audio guy is on point, making sure that, all the, we ain't even got to the, post-production or editing yet. Imagine having to make sure you get enough food. And mind you don't have a big budget studio behind you. Imagine having to get food for everybody. Imagine getting people to drive from the other side of town to come do this. Imagine making sure that the script is on point. Imagine making sure that it's safe for everyone in the environment. I mean, have you ever had to kick somebody off set because he was making the women uncomfortable for making sly comments and coming on to them a little bit too strong? Yeah, I had to do that, especially when you wasn't paying them. And now he's looking at you like a full-blown clown because you're kicking him off a set that you're not even paying him to be on. Yes, making films is hard, especially when you ain't paying nobody. So I don't have no problem with you saying that. I really don't. Making films is goddamn hard. It's not like being a rapper where you can just go in the booth with a couple of people around you getting high and you can just make a song. No, it's a much more collaborative effort. It has to be very detailed, very on point, very cohesive, and very structured, okay, in order to make a good film. But one of the things that Chris Stuckman talked about is studio interference. He essentially blamed the Madam Web production all on studio interference and bullshit. Fuck out of here. Get on somewhere with that. Sorry, I didn't really want to cuss like that on here. Everybody deals with studio interference. Everybody. Everybody. It's not exclusive to Madam Web. So for you to sit here and try to make this argument that, oh, studio interference, that's an excuse. I'm not telling you that you have to come out and say your friends in the industry were unqualified. I'll say that, okay? These writers, evidenced by their history, had no business getting another job. This director, what's her name? Unqualified. Should have never been near. Everybody's saying that. We don't need to be in the industry to know what the fuck we're looking at. It's the same thing with the NFL. You don't have to be in the NFL as a coach or an analyst, as a player, to look at a quarterback and say, that nigga's not a good quarterback. Same way I don't need to be in the industry directing movies to look at this film and say, Like, I can look at a good film and then look at something like Madam Web and see the stark differences. Good cinematography, a good color palette, a good tone, a cohesive story, beginning, middle, and end, a good theme, a good message, great action scenes, great costumes, great dialogue, great performances from the actors. Guess what? Madam Web had none of the 10. None. That's why it's getting universally panned by critics and fans alike. Everybody deals with studio interference. Hell, I didn't even have a studio over me, and my film never saw the light of goddamn day. I don't even like telling people about it because it sounds like I'm capping when I'm saying, oh yeah, I directed a film before. Motherfuckers be like, okay, let me see it. It never got released. So imagine dealing with an actual studio. I get it, but everybody deals with studio interference. So moving on. Now I want to address this Joe Russo comment. Let's just read it again. If you Twitter trolls like Chris, were like Chris, and actually learn how hard it is to make a movie instead of just crying about them from your mom's basement, you too would make videos like this one. Joe Russo, honestly, you can suck the meanest dick on YouTube. Honestly, you can. Because this is why you can go fuck yourself. People like you and your friends in the industry gatekeep it away from people who don't think like you, and we ain't even got to get to politics. People like you gatekeep the industry away from others who do not think like you, people like you who can't take criticism. People like you who don't like people who even lean towards the right a little bit. People like you who think that attractive women in movies and video games is actually a good thing. So for you to have the audacity to say if we could just make a movie, no, you gatekeep it. Even if somebody was able to get their film off like made, people like you in the industry make sure it never gets seen. Look at what y'all tried to do to the Sounds of Freedom movie. I mean, y'all tried to trash that movie all the way to the bank. So for you to have the audacity to say, oh, if you could make a film, you would know how hard it is. Dude, stop gatekeeping the industry. And for you guys keep making these derogatory comments, from your mom's basement. You can make as many derogatory comments as you want. But if people like you in the industry continue to fight against the audience that you asked to come watch your fucking films, oh, you niggas gonna continue to fail. You gonna continue to fail. And I don't care. You should. This is why so many people are rooting for the death of Hollywood, because you have the audacity and the arrogance and the narcissistic traits in you to believe that you're supposed to just feed us bullshit and we're supposed to pay for it. Go fuck yourself. Honestly, Mr. Russo, go fuck yourself, okay? We don't need to know how hard it is to make a film to know if your movie's trash. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments.
Beat that thing down like you started attention, my baby. You had some plans with your man, just tell him to cancel, my baby. Slide to the crib, look like Dracula's mansion, my baby.